Hello, everyone, and welcome to My Curious Mind podcast. I'm Stephen Rulli, your host, and I'm so excited to have you join us on this journey of discovery. Every episode, we dive into thought-provoking conversations, exploring fascinating ideas, and uncover the mysteries of life that spark our curiosity. Whether you're into science, philosophy, personal growth, or just love to laugh and learn something new, you're in the right place. Before we get started, I did want to mention we do have merch. Please check the link in the bio to buy all things My Curious Mind and help our podcast grow. Also, if you're on Spotify, make sure you hit that follow button. And if you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and like this video. So, grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let's explore the world together. Are you ready? Let's get started. All righty, man. How you been?
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
Doing good. Trying to, figure out this dad thing, figure out this podcast thing. I'm teaching now, so then always trying to figure out how to be a better coach.
Got a heavy load on your hands, just full of stuff. It's good, man. It's good to see you, man. I see you thriving, so that's good.
You too, man. You too. So you're here at Lindenwood University. So, but to get here, it's kind of been like in your short post-college life, which probably feels like forever because you've been kind of everywhere. Kind of go through like obviously we met at Greenville. They don't know that, but we know that. But go through like once you graduated, like take us up to the point where you ended up at.
So when I graduated, it was from back in 2018, which is crazy to think how far back that was now.
Yeah.
Man, that spring, I got in the car with Coach Bell and Coach Womack and Coach Grant. We went up to the University of Minnesota, and in that time, that's when I realized we got to watch the spring practice. That's when I realized I wanted to get into college coaching, and that level was what my goal was. So, man, when I got back in town, I just started applying for jobs. I think I sent out over 200 emails. They were specific directly to each coach in the college football world. And man, I got my first job at Montana Tech, which is way across the country.
Yeah.
And it's funny because you hear all these stories about how guys' careers have this like crazy moment. And what a lot of people don't know is that when I took my job at Montana Tech, I was leaving a job interview at Wabash University in Indiana. I was literally on the steps walking out when Montana Tech called me and offered the job there. Some connections there were from some people that I played for in college, and had the fortunate opportunity to work under head coach Chuck Morrell, who's now the co-DC at Alabama. The offensive coordinator, I worked under Pete Sturbick, who's the OC now at Montana State. So I was fortunate to be with some really good people to start my career to kind of help me get into coaching. So, and then from there, went to EKU, Eastern Kentucky, where I met my mentor, Danny Hope, who was a legendary coach in college football, was Drew Brees' O-line coach at Purdue, and also was the head coach at Purdue for a stint, but is a big-time former head coach and Hall of Famer at Eastern Kentucky. So I was there from spring 2019 to summer of 2020. And then, so during the pandemic, packed up and took an opportunity at Liberty. I was working on my master's and kind of got my foot in the door there by just kind of saying, hey, I'm a QC at Eastern Kentucky, but I'm doing my master's here. Is there any opportunities there? And they were like, come on. And kind of got to do some analyst work there at Liberty. And obviously that was a great opportunity getting to be with Coach Hugh Freeze, who's now at Auburn. And then went into Cure Bowl. So that was cool. That was a great opportunity for me. And if you got any questions between, just stop me because I got kind of random.
So at Liberty, you got the chance to at least you got to coach Malik Willis, who's kind of like correct?
Yeah.
Was he there? He was there when you were there?
I didn't coach Malik directly.
Yeah.
But I, did have some interaction with them. Kind of got to see his position coach was a guy named Kent Austin, who is probably arguably one of the best quarterback coaches in the country.
Yeah.
Really good football coach, great person. But just to watch how he developed the quarterbacks in that room as a whole, and that was a cool experience because Malik came to Liberty from Auburn.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that the year prior, Malik was there playing scout team quarterback. So it was cool to kind of see his breakout season take place.
And it kind of put Liberty's always been on the map, but not for usually for football.
No, it was kind of like the breakout of, okay, the Liberty Flames are relevant. Yeah. They are relevant FBS football program. And that was their second season FBS at the time. So it was pretty awesome.
Yeah. And so he ended up going to NFL. I mean, he's up role right now, but yeah, no, I remember that season. Like people were all like, especially in like the Christian world, people were like, "Oh, Liberty, Malik Willis, Liberty." So it was cool to it's cool to be like, "Hey, I know a guy that coaches there."
Yeah, no, it was awesome to be a part of, and I was just in the analyst role. Like a lot of people don't know, like in those roles, sometimes you're devoted to like one thing.
Yeah.
So like my job, I took on the role of breaking down formations. So some days I would sit in this room and break down formations all day and just learn formations. But the cool thing was just getting to sit in those offensive meetings, learn football, learn how Coach Free sees football, learn how our offensive staff game plan. Like that's an experience that I don't regret. That's an experience that I'll never forget either. Like it's always amazing when you could be a part of something like that and you have a successful season because now you can use those things as you advance on.
Yeah. So explain to me like the analyst role. So were you an because you kind of hear them on both sides of the ball. Offense analyst. I don't think they have a special team analyst like
they do
for most teams.
So some people call it analyst, some people call it QC. It just kind of depends on the program you're in. An analyst role is like support staff. You wear numerous hats, but basically you run reports, you do some scouting, you do film breakdown, you do all the things. You essentially help the team prepare. You help that side of the ball prepare. So you kind of get with a certain position coach. Each position coach typically has an analyst or a QC that they work with, and you give them the weekly reports of, hey, these are their best players. These are their blitzes. These are their stunts. This is what they do. This is their percentages of how they do things. And they love to do this against this formation. So it's, believe it or not, football is a lot of computer work. And that's the piece that a lot of people don't know. There's like a football is like a desk job in many aspects in college football. Like you go out on the field, obviously, for about 2 hours, 2.5 hours a day, but you spend a lot of time on the computer.
Yeah. I mean, even in high school football, it's a lot of a lot of OCs and head coaches and DCs, like they do a lot of that work themselves, where they get all the information, they get all that, and they try to make it for like the team for the next week. But it's like definitely like in that college aspect, you got 150 guys you got to try to coach as well. So it's cool that it's like they give a specific like job title to those to like for like breaking down film, because it's like essentially what it sounds like to me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is like you take in the whole like information, and then it's like, hey, like instead of watching the whole game and trying to figure out this is their top things. This is where they could beat us. Like you're kind of bite-sizing it down.
Yeah.
So then the defensive coordinator could be like, or the offensive coordinator could be like, hey, this is where we go next.
Yeah.
Essentially.
And like to sum up really like my role here, my job is to as the offensive QC, I get to work with our whole offense. So like I'll help put together scouting reports, I'll break down film, I'll run reports, Sometimes give a summary presentation on, hey, this is what we're going to see this week. I'll chart things. A lot of people, if you ever watch us play, you'll see me standing right behind our offensive coordinator when he's calling plays. And what I'm doing is I'm writing down the play we called by series. And I label it if we turn the ball over or if we got a touchdown. And then at halftime, when we make the adjustment, I kind of let him know how many plays we ran or what took place on that play. So in that analyst role, it's really what you make it, because I tell people in the analyst role, make sure you're still developing. So what I do with our offensive coordinator, like, because I am assigned to a position, but not. So I kind of get with him and say, hey, I want to learn how to be a coordinator. Like, what would you tell me? What would you teach me? And I sit in his meetings sometimes and other meetings. So it's a really cool overall learning experience. It's almost like you kind of get a free for all of information.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, because definitely, like, you don't have to run a position group. So if it's like, hey, I want to go listen to O-line today, I can go listen to O-line today. Like, if I want to go listen to quarterbacks today, I'll listen to quarterbacks today. So yeah, that's awesome. So you leave Liberty, or you coach at Liberty. What was next after at Liberty?
So I could have probably stayed at Liberty for another season. I had to finish my degree, which I actually just completed 3 weeks ago. So I officially now have my master's finally. I got an opportunity down in Texas at a really good D2 school, Texas A&M Kingsville, who historically is known for having the most NFL players to come out of a D2 school. Went down there, worked for a head coach, a guy named Mike Salinas, who's now the AD there. And got to be with a bunch of really, really good football coaches, man. Like, that opportunity is what kind of really pushed me forward. I got to have my own room coaching the tight ends there. Got to work with a guy named Coy Detmer, who is the nephew to Ty Detmer. Now, Coy Detmer at the time, when I met him, had just graduated college. Now Coy is the quarterbacks coach at Utah.
Okay.
Another guy, Coach Cundiff, Parker Cundiff. Parker Cundiff is now in recruiting at Arizona State.
Yeah.
And then another guy named John Kyden, who I lived with down there. John is now working at UTEP under Coach Scotty Walden, and then Coach Jones, who's our D-line coach, he's also at UTEP. And then another guy named John Petty. John Petty, who's a really, really good up-and-coming young guy, who's at Houston. I think it's Houston Christian down in Texas. He's the assistant head coach in D.C. there. So I got to be with some really good ball coaches, man. I was really grateful for that opportunity. I did a season there. I was there for a year and a half, but did one season there.
Okay. Yeah. So the common, like, mantra of, like, college coaching, and I think that's why it's like it's such a hard gig, is it seems like there's a lot of moving. There's a lot of moving. Can you kind of go into the aspect of, like, one, what's that like? Because, I mean, you've been to Montana, you've been to Liberty's in Virginia. I knew it was over there somewhere. Down to Texas, now back up here to St. Charles. So, like, what is that like? Just kind of like different. Because, I mean, everywhere you go, I mean, that's different time zones, it's different cultures, it's different everything. So just kind of walk through that, like, adjusting to moving that many times.
You know, I think some of it is the football world is a different world. So, like, you move locations, but football is football. So you're going into a different location. You're walking into a football office where these strangers that you've never met, you're speaking the same language a little bit. But most of the time, truthfully, football is all about who you know. Most of the time, you're not taking a job somewhere where you don't know somebody.
Yeah.
So typically, it's not as difficult as you think. If you're a single man, it's not that bad because you just kind of get up and move whenever you want. Now, if you're married or have children, it's a little more difficult because you have to consult with your wife. Does she want to move? And are your kids ready to move? There are some coaches that they move, but their families don't. especially coaches at the higher level, like FBS level, that make good money. They kind of have a home base where the family stays here year round, and the coach, he just kind of just moves.
Yeah.
So it just kind of depends on what you and your significant other kind of agree on, or what you all want to do. And obviously, me being that I'm getting married in December, we have these talks all the time. Like, hey, so how would you want to do this? Because me and my fiance, this is home for us.
Yeah.
We love it here. I grew up in St. Louis, from St. Louis, and St. Charles. It's in St. Charles where we're considered St. Louis's Division I football team.
Yeah.
And we love it here. But if something were to ever come up where I would find an opportunity elsewhere, we've talked about ideally just her probably staying here, me going, or us going together. So that's just something that you guys have to work out. It just depends on what you prefer.
Yeah. Yeah. So, coaching college, you also had an opportunity to coach high school a little bit. So kind of go through those experiences, what they were like.
Well, high school football, man, I think what people have to understand is there is a significant difference. There's a significant difference in kid. There's a significant difference in environment. If you are a college football coach and you've started out coaching college football, coaching high school football may be a little bit of a tough transition, just depending on who you are. Yeah. I like the competitiveness of college football. I like recruiting. I like the traveling. I like being able to help a kid get to the NFL or get to the CFL or being a pro football player. High school football I did for 2 years in the state of Illinois. And I liked it because I felt like there was more time to kind of interact with the kids from a practice to school standpoint. Because typically if you coach football at a high school, you work in the school. But I do think that high school football has to maybe do a better job of trying to mimic college.
Yeah.
You have to do it, but they have to kind of do a better job of getting their kids prepared for college. Now, there are some high school programs that I think do a good job of that. And obviously, you have to do what fits for your program. But I think that if you have the numbers and you have the ability, you definitely want to try to mimic what is taking place at a college football practice and in a college football program, just so the crossover
is easier.
Yeah. I think one of the big things, man, that I could honestly say, there are some kids that really struggle when they get to college because they ultimately came here just not prepared. Like, it was because they were the star player on their team. They did things a certain way. So then they get to college and they're like, I've never even encountered this before.
Yeah.
And a lot of college football is, well, how are you going to respond to this tough task I put in front of you?
Yeah.
And some guys respond well, some guys don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think, and that's something that we try to do at Collinsville, look at every year, like, hey, how are we preparing our kids for next level? Like, hey, they might want to go play. I think, and I kind of tell everybody this, like, hey, if you want to go play college football, you probably can go be on a team somewhere in the country.
Right.
Not D1. Like that's a long stretch for everybody. That's a top percent of the world, like top percent talent in the world. But if you want to go play college football somewhere, there's a team that will put you on. And especially if you have a good GPA, they want you on there because their GPA scores go up, which means more funding for them. But yes, I would say that's like, especially just like how people teach and like teach just the game of football. It's like there's different ways to teach things, but are you teaching it in a way that if this kid, our star player, who we know is a star player, we know has a legit chance after here to go be a role player or a star player somewhere else, how are we preparing this kid for the next level? Are we doing him right by just saying, hey, we know you're probably going to be you're probably going to be a fullback in the next level, but we really need you to just play DN.
Yeah.
Just so we can win games. I think that's a hard thing for a football coach to say is like, hey, like putting the kid in the best position to make plays for the benefit of that kid, instead of, hey, if he plays here, then we might squeak out a win. You know what I mean?
Well, I think to like something that's glaring, it's important, especially for parents, to know like who your child plays for. Excuse me, matters. Like it's pivotal and critical that they play for somebody that knows what they're doing. There are a lot of kids out here, unfortunately, that are playing for coaches that don't know. And it affects them. It affects their recruiting. It affects their experience. Like there are so many aspects that really go into being a football coach. And some people look at it different. Some people do it as a hobby. Some people do it for fun. Some people do it to build it back to football. Yeah. But most guys at the collegiate level, like myself, man, I take pride in each kid. I take pride in what I teach. I make sure that my craft is on point so that one of the worst things I think I could do to a kid is give him the wrong information. Give him the wrong information and not be honest with him. Those are the two things, man, that really, really get under my skin. And I try to make sure I do right by every kid I come across.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've seen it. I've coached in two programs. I coached 4 great coaches, but just even like out at clinics, stuff like that. Just being in conversations with other coaches, they're like, well, that just won't work for us. So like teaching a kid to tackle with the correct shoulder doesn't work for you. Like what, you know what I mean? Like leverage is important in football. So and I know it's a very little thing within the whole scheme of football, but it's something.
But it's significant,
yeah.
And that's the piece of it. It's just like, when you're coaching football, I don't care if it's youth football, middle school, high school. I think if you're not clinicking and trying to go to college coaches clinics in your area or pro coaches clinics in your area, you're doing a disservice not only to yourself but to your kids.
Yeah.
Because you're really setting your kids short by not educating yourself, acknowledging yourself to help better them. And so when people say, "Oh man, we just can't do this or do that," like it's just how much are you willing to put in?
Yeah.
And it's evident who's willing to put in what, because that's why the same people win championships, and the same people that win, the same people that lose.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just my spin on that.
What kills me is like going to these clinics, like knowing teams that could be there. Like we're in the St. Louis area, so every team that we play, unless we go up north, can come to clinics in the St. Louis area that aren't very expensive towards your team. And like teams that go like 1-8 or 0-9 or 2-7 or even 4-5, and they just are like, yeah, we're not going to go to any clinics. It's all like, why? Like, what? Obviously, you don't have the secret sauce to. So why not try to get that little extra thing to give you an advantage, just to better your kids?
Well, some of it is too, man. Like you have to know your team. There are some teams that you'll inherit that are like, hey, we just got to install our playbook and we got enough athletes, we should be good. Then there are some teams that you're like, whoo, man, we're going to struggle.
Yeah.
Or we don't have the same athletic ability, but we have a good coaching staff. So we just got to make sure that we're teaching the details, teaching the fundamentals. Like we have to push this group to get better and to be better. So I'm a big believer. You always got to give yourself a chance. Always give yourself a chance.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why I love working for Coach Rhodes, because Coach Rhodes is all like, hey, I think he has a very good, he knows his team very well, like the team that he's going to have, and like the DNA of who we are. And he's all like, hey, if my original scheme is not going to win us games, I'll run what's going to win us games. You know what I mean? Like
he makes adjustments, and that's what the game is about. Being able to adjust and be able to adjust in big picture. Not just on game day, but can you adjust for the sake of your program in every aspect? So I did high school ball for 2 years. I like it? It was all right. Went after a couple of head jobs. Something didn't work out, but it helped me realize that I need to be in college football. Like this is where my heart is. This is what I think God has called me to do. And this is where I have joy. So I really enjoy college football.
Yeah. Uh, so what are kind of like your, and I know they change, it depends on if you're in season or out of season, but what is like your hours like? Because yeah, I remember in college just seeing our coaches, I felt like they never slept. Is that,
Well, I won't disclose where I live, but I make a 40-minute ride to work every day. In season is pretty brutal, but you know what? My hours are brutal, but my time, like my experiences, and I work with some pretty good people. We enjoy coming to work with each other and try to make it as fun as possible. So it's not really bad. It just kind of depends. In season is a little bit of a grind, just trying to make sure your team is ready for the opponent. And even now, portal time
yeah,
is a grind. The portal time in the off season is a bit of a challenge, and then in the midst of that, spring ball is a little bit of a grind too. So you're working, you're working pretty heavy. But I think you have to be like you really have to be adamant about your family time, your spiritual time. If you're someone who's a Christian or a man or woman of faith, like you have to really incorporate and implement those things and stand on it. Hey man, look, on Sundays I don't do football. It's my sabbatical. Like this is my time with God. That's what it is. And that's kind of how my schedule is. On Sundays about Saturday night to Sunday through Sunday. That's typically the sabbatical time that me and my fiance take to where we step away from everything and we spend time with each other, but with God.
yeah,
And we don't think about football, basketball. We don't think about any of those, anything that's work related. We don't think about nor talk about really.
yeah, yeah. So you mentioned and we'll kind of go to the two biggest like hot topics in college football right now. But first, the transfer portal. So how from so did you get into coaching before you got into coaching before there was a transfer portal?
I got into coaching literally 2 years before the transfer portal became a hot commodity.
Okay.
So what a lot of people don't understand is the transfer portal has been around. It's not really anything new. I mean, I went to 3 schools. How do you think that happened?
Yeah.
Now the rules are different though, because I went every time I transferred to school, I essentially dropped a division. So I started D2, then went NAIA, then D3. Whereas if now you could transfer D1 to D1 to D1, you don't have to drop a division. So the portal is something that's been around. It's not really anything new. It's just the rules have changed. So now big name players can transfer to another big time university, whereas if before you really couldn't unless you had a waiver.
Yeah.
Or you had a one time transfer.
Okay. So how is that like those changes in the rules? How does that affect like your recruiting? Like, are you guys still like, hey, let's go, let's go find the best seniors around, which that might be the case, but also it could be, hey, like we got a chance to compete next year. Let's go get after some of these guys in the transfer portal that that could help us win right now instead of having to develop somebody.
Overall, it's both. We still recruit. We still believe in recruiting high school kids and developing high school kids. And we recruit in the portal as well. There's some, the portal, I think this morning, from what I heard, I think there's 11,000 kids in there. Like, there's a lot of kids. But it's really just, it depends on how you look at it. For us, I think as a coach, the right way to look at it is, there's a thing here now that I have access to where I can go and I can find a player that could help us that has experience.
Yeah.
And it, depending on how you run your program, now you could go get a player that has experience, and then it also helps you buy time to develop that freshman that you bought in. It just really depends on where you're at with your program or with your team.
Yeah.
Some teams, they live and die by the portal. They'll go like Colorado a couple years ago shipped out 78 dudes and went and got 78 more. It just depends on how you operate your program, and I don't think that there's a right and wrong way to do it. People, they're just whatever you think it takes for you to win. That's what you should do. Yeah. I don't think that it's a bad thing though. I do wish that there were some rules that were in place to get control of this a little bit. I do think there's a lot of just craziness happening.
Yeah.
But I think that, the era of football that we're in, I think when we finally get things under control, we get everything mapped out and get everything figured out, I think that it'd be a good thing for coaches and players.
Yeah. Yeah. So the spin-off question of that is the whole NIL deal, which I think is, personally, I like NIL. I just think it helps. One, it helps kids pay for school. Has it blown up? Of course, but that's because you gave 18 and 19-year-olds money. But just kind of explain NIL. NIL, and just kind of like what you think about it, and then kind of what it is, because I don't think a lot of people understand what it is.
Let me ask you this, Rilo. What do you think?
NIL is like essentially like I can get paid as a college athlete to use my name, my image, or my likeness, so you can start kind of branding your name essentially.
So yes, you're correct. Now, what I have to caution is what you see.
Yeah,
that's not NIL. That's what you. So that's two different things, and this is what we're talking about. There's two different things happening. There's NIL where it's like, okay, hey, Isaac Akers is in a deal with Canes, and he does sponsorship with Canes, and he gets a percentage of that sponsorship. Cool. But then there's collective. Collective is like, essentially, I'm going to church today, and they taking up offering, and I get to take offering. Offering goes to me. That's collective. That's a lot of what you're seeing with these huge amounts of money. Is like, there's a group of boosters coming together, putting this money in a pot, and they're saying, hey, let's go get the kid that we need. And that's why you see kids leveraging these big chunks of 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million. Like, because that's literally a pot of money that's sitting there for that. So, NIL and collective, two different things.
Okay.
NIL is, like I said, endorsements, stuff like that, commercials, cars, things of that nature. Collective is just, yeah, man, you're a good football player. We're going to give you $3 million to come play at our university. That's the difference.
Yeah. So, and maybe this is something that, I mean, and this is speculation, but hasn't technically collective allegedly been going on forever? Now it's just legal, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because I mean, like if we're going kind of duck and duck, yeah, it's just now it's, but the thing is too, like now that it's legal, you're realizing that there are some schools. There's a reason why some people wanted it, and there's a reason why some people don't. And you're learning that there are schools that you thought in the past weren't really that good, that you're learning, well, this school is actually the richest school in the country.
Yeah. And
they can actually buy better athletes. So that's why some people actually like this. Some people don't, because they're like, dude, I don't, like, yeah, our reputation got us these kids, but now, like, we don't have the money to go and pay $10 million to go get the 5-star kid. Like,
yeah.
So there's two ways to look at it. Some people say that it's not fair and they don't like it. Some people say, no, man, the playing field is even now.
Yeah.
So it just kind of depends.
I think looking at like I'd say the last 20 years of national championships, like you don't see, it's rare you see a back-to-back anymore in any sport. So I like for a team like Florida basketball who just won, like I don't even think they're relevant hardly within the last 10 years in college basketball. I don't know when the last time they won it.
Florida won last national championship in basketball. Florida won was in 2007 when Joakim Noah was playing. Yeah, like so that's the thing, man. Like it's changed the things, but it depends on who you are. Like for me, this stuff it's exciting.
Yeah,
because it's like it just makes it more competitive. Like it puts more excitement. Now, is it stressful? Yeah, but it puts more excitement out there because, for example, like 2-3 years ago, TCU was in a national championship, and then their first game the next year they lose to a Colorado team that won one game the previous year. Like you can't just predict sports anymore. Like there's drastic changes. Like after the portal closes this summer and we check into fall camp, like I really am anxious to see like what teams are the premier teams going into the 2025 football season. Because there's for sure going to be some shifts and movements this summer with kids. So it's to me it's exciting. I enjoy it.
Yeah. So how does NIL kind of work at Lindenwood? If you could talk about it, or if you can, that's fine too.
So we're just kind of cut and dry. Like, hey, you want to come play football for us? Come on. We don't really have kids that are necessarily really yearning for that.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure like if a kid asked about it, we would steer them in the right direction. But the beautiful thing I love about Lindenwood is we keep the main thing here. Like you're here to play football, get an education. That's what we push, and we recruit kids that find the value in that.
Yeah.
If that opportunity comes, we're not telling you not to do it. We'll help you in any way we could, but we keep this. This is the main thing for us: playing football, getting your education. Because at the end of the day, man, listen, I want to see you thrive in your major. I want to see you become a better person. Like, and it ain't, you don't need millions or whatever dollars for me to do that. Yeah. Like, and it's all about just time spent in relationships.
Yeah.
That's kind of who we are here.
Yeah. That's good. It's good stuff. So Lindenwood became a official D1. Was it 5 years ago? Less than 5 years ago?
I want to say it's about 4 years ago.
4 years ago?
Yeah.
So have you since you've been here at least, or that you've kind of seen from looking at a distance, have you felt like there's been a surge of like, okay, now we're getting more and more people to like come to Lindenwood and getting more of those athletes to play on the team and stuff like that?
I think that there's a lot of people that are interested. A lot of kids are interested in coming here, especially that are some of the top athletes in the area. They see that Lindenwood is a Division I football program, and this is what they've been waiting on for years. Even when I was a kid, you got to think a lot of our athletes were leaving the area because we didn't have Division I football right here.
Yeah,
we had Division I basketball. You had SLU, you had that, but you had SIUE, but we never had Division I football.
Yeah.
But now you have it right here. So we draw a lot more recruits. We draw a lot more fans. Like St. Louis essentially has a Division I football team. Yes, we're in St. Charles, but we open our arms to St. Louis, and hopefully over time that picks up more to where we kind of have more crossover, do things together, and just really make this thing big time.
Yeah, and now obviously your big 5 stars in the area, they're going to go kind of where they're next step to the NFL. I'm not saying that you guys don't have NFL guys here, but I've been saying for years, man, like St. Louis is a good place to recruit athletes.
Yeah,
like this area,
it really is. I think the thing that people got to understand is that those stars is cool, those ratings are cool, but the minute you check into camp, you got to perform.
Yeah,
you do. There are 5-star kids that end up in our league. That's why I like it now. Even with recruiting, like, dude, recruiting is no holds bar. Like, you could be an FCS school and still go after a 4-star, 5-star kid. Like, we want to coach those kids too. Yeah. And the beautiful thing about Division I football is whether you're FBS or FCS, you can go to the NFL or CFL from there, we had every NFL team come by here this year to see some of our guys. So it's not like you come here and you're going to miss out on that. You still get that same opportunity here.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it. Like, you don't have to go major Division One to go get a pro opportunity. You can go D1, D2, D3. Like, if you're performing, they are going to find you.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So without going into like any specific specific details on anyone, kind of talk about like the recruiting process. If like a kid, let's say a kid is wanting to play college football, like what should he do to get recruited?
I think the biggest thing is establishing relationships with the schools that you're interested in. Recruiting is all about, do I know you? Do you know me? The big thing is make sure you're going to camp. You know, we host the biggest mega camp here in the St. Louis area every year. So coming to stuff like that, but also going to prospect camps that universities hold, because you're getting coached by their staff. So why would you not take that opportunity?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that's the critical piece there, is like going to those prospect camps and being organized. If a coach emails you, email them back. If he sends you a message, message them back. Reach out to coaches, just do all those things that, as far as contact, just be on point with that stuff. Be respectful. Refer to coach as coach. Don't have, don't call, hey bro, or what's up, man, or like I've had kids literally call me by my first name in a message, and I'm like, I shouldn't even message them back, because, dude, this is this is a suit and tie business, and that's what I think a lot of recruits need to know, is like this is professionalism. Yes, sir. No, sir. Hey, Mr. Such and Such, Mrs. Such and Such. Like, in football, what people need to know is not just a men-heavy sport. Like, there are women that work in football. Like, so the respect thing is across the board.
Yeah.
Hey, Mrs. Such and Such, Mr. Such and Such. Like, you really have to be on point, especially when it comes to trying to be recruited, because it's your resume. How you present yourself matters. Making sure you have access to your film, making sure your coach has given you access to your film, because if you send me your tape, or if you tell me you're interested in me and then I go to look up your film and I can't see it, I'm just going to go to the next kid. You really have to be organized. And I think high school coaches got to know, like, hey, like, we have to be on point with everything. And what I will tell you is this, Rulo. Some high school coaches want to do everything on their time, and that is not good for the kid.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm reaching out about a kid, I'm reaching out in that moment at that time for a reason, so you can get back to me in a timely manner. But if you decide you're just going to deal with it after the season or whatever, my man, I filled that spot already.
Yeah.
Or if you decide you're just going to do it whenever you feel like it, chances are that opportunity has came and went. There are millions of kids in the country. And one of the scariest things I ever heard when I was being recruited in high school, and I won't say what school it was. It was a Division I program, not too far from where I was going to high school. And the guy said to me, "Hey, I reached out to you. I never heard back." So we moved on to the next kid that was like, he was like, "Wait, you need to know, Isaac, in recruiting, there are multiple duplicates of you. So if I'm recruiting Steve, Rulo, there is a million of you out here.
Yeah.
You're the one that I'm in contact with. And then, you know what, if the conversation is not sticking, or if we're not talking much, or if you don't show interest, I'm going to go to the next version of you." And and that was a harsh reality for me, because someone didn't help me through that process or speak on my behalf when they were reached out to. I probably missed out on an offer to a MAC school Division I program. So it's important. That's why it goes back to, I think, as a coach, especially as a high school coach, man, gotta take pride in the kids you're coaching. You gotta really take pride in that every day.
For sure. Yeah, and that's what another thing, just to shout out, I always shout about one here, and he hates it, but Coach Rhodes, like he asked at the beginning of the year, like, "Hey, who wants to go try to play college football?" And then he for every kid, he creates like a thing and sends it out to like so many coaches. But he really trains our kids like, hey, make sure your Twitter X profile is good.
Yeah.
Here's what they're looking for in your film, by position and stuff like that.
Coach Rhodes is amazing, and every time I reach out to him, he's always been responsive. Good dude to talk to. And it's funny. I almost worked with Coach Rhodes 3 years ago. But he's a good guy, very genuine guy. And Collinsville's for sure going to be good.
Yeah, we make the joke all the time that he's our future Hall of Fame coach right in front of our face. When he's in a Collinsville, it's like he says he kind of fell into the position, but I'm like, no man, like you were the right fit for this school.
Yeah, no, he's a good coach, man. Really good guy, amazing guy.
Yeah. So. Spring ball. We just wrapping it up. Kind of walk us through like that aspect of Lindenwood. Like how was the spring ball practice? Kind of the recap of that, without obviously going into too many details. But
I think for us offensively, I think we had a really good spring. We have a really good offensive coordinator here, Dusty Lorca, who, truthfully, I think is going to be a big name someday. Probably he already is one. Started out at Sioux Falls, played at Sioux Falls, became a coordinator at Sioux Falls young, and really, has built this system that I'm actually kind of learning now. So I spend a lot of time with them, and great guy, really good football coach. This spring, man, we had a good spring offensively. We really like where we're at, really excited about it, and I think it's going to transition well into the fall. So it's an exciting time here, man, for us. And, we're going to see kind of what happens this summer and if we go get more pieces or whatever. But I think we have a good group coming into the fall.
Yeah. Now, did you guys get any do you guys get into like where there's some seniors that you recruited that came here like in January and they participated in spring ball with you, or is it like kind of quarter? I know some schools do it quarterly.
It just kind of depends on where you're at with your numbers and stuff. We had one quarterback enroll early. He was a local kid though.
Yeah.
But he was around. We didn't really have any come, but we get those kids. We also get our kids in the summer.
Yeah.
So a lot of those kids, those upcoming freshmen, they'll be here in June. And they'll be taking summer classes, and they'll get to work out this summer. So people think that their first dose of college ball at this level is in August. And it's like, no, man, they get like 2 months to get acquainted with campus, take classes, break their feet in, kind of get going. And what most people don't know is Division I athletes, when they finish school in 4 years, they're walking out of here with a master's because they're going to school year round.
Yeah.
So by the time they get a 4-year degree done in about 3 years, and then they do their master's and a year, 2 years, especially if they redshirt. Most of the guys have a master's leaving here. So it's really a nice setup, man. And we really set those guys up for success. We have a really great program here.
Yeah. One of the other things I want to cover, because I experienced this, I know you experienced this, is like the transition from like high school football. Like high school football, you could go and you could just play if you want to. You could just play. And if you're a good enough athlete, you don't even really have to learn anything. You could just play and then figure it out. When you make that jump to college, it's like, now this is your job. And that's something that I had to learn real quick. And like, even at Greenville, which is a D3 school, like, hey, you were coming here to be a student that plays football.
Yeah.
And so kind of walk through like that, whether it's your experience or what you see or how you help kids kind of transition to like that high school mindset of like, hey, I can just kick it with my buddies. Like, hey, no, you got workouts at this time. You got to do this. Like, there's no room for error because like you said in recruiting, like we will go find somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the point of getting those guys here in the summer, especially those early enrollees, man. We teach them how to do this. We help them navigate. We help them function. And we talked them through this. There's a lot of meetings in college football. You have position meetings, unit meetings, team meetings. You spend a lot of time with your position coach, and your position coach helps you get acclimated to college football. So that's kind of what the bigger piece is there. And it's about who you surround yourself with. In college football, you'll have some vets that'll help navigate you as well. And then once you get the hang of it, you'll realize like, okay, I can do this. This is different, but I can do this. You set your schedule, your classes at the right time. You set your schedule for like your workouts and all of that, and you kind of do like if you're here to play football, your class schedule and all of that kind of is around your weightlifting and your practice schedule. So it works out. The big thing is, man, is just understanding that you're going to be pushed. Understanding that you're going to have to work harder than what you've ever had to work before. For some guys, it comes easy. Some guys, it's really a challenge. For me, man, it was a challenge. I went to a D2 school to start out with, but the offensive line I played with was probably one of the biggest offensive lines in the country. We had a right tackle that was 6'8". No, our left tackle was 6'8". Our right tackle was 6'10". Our right guard was 6'4". Our starting center was 6'3". Our left guard was 6'6". So like I'm enrolling at a D2 school with these type of dudes around me, and I wasn't strong enough, wasn't fast enough. I was out of shape. I was weak. But spending time with those guys, and that's why we say, hey man, once you start spending more time with these guys, you'll start to mold into what they are. And that's what it was. I just needed to spend a whole semester with these dudes just to get acclimated to college football. And that's why I tell guys, don't rush the process. Like if you get redshirted, it's not bad. If you need to take your time to develop to get to that point to where you're a player, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like the fact that you can take your time to do that, you're running your race.
Yeah.
Don't look at the guy next to you and say, "Oh, I got to get here." No, like you got to run your race and get to the point to where your success will come when it's right for you.
Yeah.
And that's a tough pill to swallow if you're a competitor. But I'm me living through it and experiencing it, even as a coach, I've had to learn that. And now that I know that, man, my stress level is a lot lower than what it used to be. Trust me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of kids hear that term red shirt and they just get like so discouraged. It's like, no, that's kind of the best thing for you.
It's the best thing that ever happened to a lot of kids.
Oh, yes.
There were a lot of kids that I saw come in as a red shirt, and you're like, he ain't gonna make it, and then they leave an NFL prospect.
Yeah,
seriously.
Yeah, I just think it's good because like you just get that you get a chance to practice at every practice and go all out. Like you don't have to save yourself necessarily for a game. So even if you're a scout team, like, hey, let me dominate these first teamers and then show like get coaches excited. You get to work out with the team all the time, and it's like you don't necessarily have that. And I know the competitor, like we always want to play in the game, like that's the main goal. But like if you get a chance to just fully like just master whatever position they have you in and get full workouts and get full practice, and that practice you get to not have to worry about like, hey, I got to perform on Saturday now. Like
100%, absolutely.
Yeah. So what's kind of like your personal goals? Like where do you see yourself in like 10 years within the coaching football aspect of things?
Well, real low thanks, because in 10 years I'll be 40. Man, my life plan is obviously I'll be married. I want to have children. I would like to coach major FBS college football, maybe even in the NFL. Kind of dipping into that stuff a little bit now and kind of working my way toward it, man. But the big thing is, man, is for my faith to be intact. That's what matters the most. Keeping God first, and I think all those other things will come.
Yeah.
But I got to give those stresses and those goals to Him, and He'll mold them way better than I ever could. And I've had to learn that. For the longest, as a young guy in the profession, I was trying to will my way through things, and I had some success doing that. But then when I realized that when I give things to God, man, He molds it and shapes it so much better than I can. And I think that's the biggest piece, man, is keeping that first, loving on people, keeping a soft heart for people, having grace, caring for people, and just, living right. And I think all this other stuff will take care of itself, man, honestly. So 10 years, that's where I would like to be, hopefully with some children.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, just living a good life, coaching football.
Yeah. Is it weird to think that you're a young guy in the coaching world, but still a vet at the same time because you've been doing it for a while?
It is, like, especially now that
because you could realistically do it for you're going to turn 31. Like, you could do this for 30 more years.
Yeah, there are guys that are coaching that are in their 70s. Coach Saban retired, I think, at 75, 74. So I could do this another 40 years if I want. It is weird to think about that because it's like I've been around so many people, so many different coaches who are successful that I feel like I've lived this crazy long life of coaching football, and it's only been 8 years.
Yeah.
It hasn't been long at all. But you know what? What I have to say is that, man, God has really blessed me and the people that I've been able to be around. A lot of people don't get to be around this type of experience this early.
Yeah.
It typically takes a while. So like I'm super thankful for that. Super appreciative for that. For sure that for sure doesn't go unnoticed. Like in my daily prayers and in my daily thoughts, like I literally wake up and thank God every day for that because it's helped me a lot.
Yeah. Something that I love that you said at the beginning, and then you saying that kind of made me think about this was like, God gave you the opportunity, but He gave you the opportunity as well to like say, hey, this is something I want to do. That you were willing to send out 200 emails, over 200 emails to just get a opportunity.
Yeah, it's funny, man, because I sent out 250 emails to be exact. And you know how I got my first job? Somebody making a phone call. So it wasn't even through any of the emails, which is it's kind of funny. But you know what? That helped me realize, man, I really want to pursue this. I really love this, and I think it really started though with like just being with Coach Shoemaker, man. At first, one thing that I got with Coach Shoemaker that I was yearning for, man, I needed somebody who was going to really love me and have my back. I wanted to play, but my mindset when I got to Coach Shoemaker was, Coach, I want to play. I want to win a championship. And he said, no, I know you want to play, but I need you to make me one promise. And I thought the promise was going to be that you'll be all conference or you'll do this, or like I thought it was a football thing. He said, I need you to promise me that you'll graduate and that you'll finish. And I paused for a second because in my mind, man, I'm here to play football. Yeah. I know these NFL scouts came to see Nick Morrow last year, so I know the NFL comes here. I'm trying to keep playing. But he said, no, I need you to promise me that you're going to finish school. Like, that's what I need you to promise me. And when I made that promise, man, I held on to it. And it was one of the best promises I've ever made. And Coach Shoemaker, I could say his program, him and Coach Bell and Coach Grant and all those guys, man, and Coach Terrell, crazy Coach Terrell, those guys helped lead me to Christ. It really helped me kind of slow down and view things different and really hone in on that and transitioning into life after football. And a lot of people don't know, there was like a 2-month stint there where I was pursuing being a pro football player. I had some things lined up to go play overseas. Was talking to an agent. I was going through that process. And after we played in that bowl game, that all-star game down in December in South Carolina, I was just like, you know what, God, I don't want to be a football player no more. And I had a peace about it. Because after transferring schools 3 times and going through all of that, I was like, you know what? I cannot do this and be okay. Yeah. And that's what I was hanging on to. I wasn't sure if I was going to be okay not being a football player. Yeah. And then I got into coaching, and then I realized, man, coaching is just so much more big picture and not about me. And it gave me purpose. So. Well,
I'm talking to something that you said to me when I left Greenville and started coaching. You said you'll never go back to college football, and you weren't being mean. You're being serious. You're like, you found your purpose. Like, you did it. Like you did what you could do, and it wasn't like you're not going to because you're not capable. You're fully capable, You found what you're going to do. That stuck with me ever since we had that conversation at a graduation. Now we weren't even participating, and we were just there catching up with friends. You're all like, hey, like you're in the coaching world now. You'll never go back.
Yeah.
And so like I've played semi-pro and stuff like that, but that was just for fun. But no, like especially this year, I have like, I'm with you. Like I'm a coach. Like I'm always going to coach no matter what. Even like teaching in my classroom, like I'm teaching kids how to learn more science.
Yeah. I think too, Rulo, like with football, man, football is such a unique game. It's a special game. But when you find your purpose in it, you stick to it. When I was telling you that, it's because you walked into a bigger purpose, and it was something that was bigger than your own personal glory. And I really think that's why God put us here. He put us here to be that puzzle piece to lead people to Him.
Yeah.
Football, we've been able to use football to do that, and that's what I was getting at. Like, hey, man, I'm telling you, once you realize that you can get the satisfaction of football without almost breaking your neck out here and waking up bruised and beating up your body, you won't go back to it. And for the longest time, there was a point where I struggled not being a football player, but when I got into coaching and I realized what it was really truly about, it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
And the minute I encountered my first kid, that it's like you are in charge of this kid and he is counting on you, man, it was way bigger than running inside zone or blocking a dude in front of me. Like, it's like, no, this is a life in front of me that I'm impacting. This is what matters the most. And that's where I was getting great at that.
I tell people that I'm a football coach, but like right now, like I'm coaching track. I don't know. I ran track once in 8th grade, but like I said, I just love to coach these kids. Like I told them at the beginning, like, hey, I was no all-state trackster. Like this is just like I'm just here to make you better than you were yesterday.
Right.
And so and the kids have really responded like, hey, like he could care less like about any accolades that we get because like my expectation is very low because I've never done track. I don't know how to teach a kid to get over a hurdle. I just know, hey, jump over it better this time than you did last time. They had really this track season, which has been taxing because I've just never been a head coach of really anything before. But even like it just showed me like, hey, I'm like that's what I love to do. I love to coach. Like even in my ministry world, like you could still coach people to Jesus.
Yeah, and that's where you never miss.
Yeah,
you never. Some of the most impactful coaches that I've met in this profession, yeah, they're good football coaches, but they're good at leading people to Christ.
Yeah,
and that's what gets them the results. And that's ultimately. I learned football. I love football, but that's the route that I've chosen to take. Is hey man, if I'm leading souls to Christ, the wins and losses, the fame, all of that stuff, man, it'll take it. Not only will it take care of itself, but that don't matter.
Yeah.
What matters is the fact that a soul went to Christ. That's what matters.
Thank you. Well, appreciate you coming on, man. I'm glad we can make this work with this beautiful background.
Yeah.
So this is where the magic happens every Saturday?
Yeah, every Saturday, man. This is when we practice, and for sure, got to get you out to a game. And I think what people got to know is, man, Lindenwood is for sure up and coming. It's a special place, special school, football, special program. I think, man, you give us time, we are going to be one of the top tier premier programs in the country. We have a good staff here, good players. We're going to make our mark. This upcoming season, got another tough schedule, but I don't think it's one that we can't conquer. I'm excited about it. Grateful to work with the guys that I work with and to learn more football. And keep being the young old guy in the business. That's I kind of fall in that range now. And the big thing is, man, just every day, just loving on people. Um, and I talk to our coaches about that, our players about that, and we just, man, when we go out here, we say that we get to. You look at what's going on in the world now, man. There's so many negatives. I unfortunately, the kid at LSU, Kyron Lacey, that situation there is it's things like that frees you because as a coach, it's one of the worst things you can hear. But then you think about it, man, that could easily be one of our kids.
Yeah.
So we just emphasize loving our kids, man, and we operate with the I get to mindset. I get to come into work. I get to break down film. I get to go out to practice in the heat, in the cold. I get to do these things, man, because there's going to come a time where one day we're not going to get to. And unfortunately, that's just the way life is. But man, I'm grateful. I appreciate you. Thank you for having me on, man. And this was awesome. Glad I got to catch up with you.
Yeah.
It's good to sit down with an old teammate. I remember when you checked into your first camp, 2017.
Yeah.
I was telling you guys, I said, look, man, it's gonna go by fast.
Yeah.
And then I'm just glad that you guys, though, the refreshing part for me as an alumni at Greenville is seeing guys thriving, staying in touch with guys, and really guys applying those things that we learn as EMAP men, and seeing what it does for us in the world, and how we actually have an impact. So, man, I'm proud of you. Keep doing your thing, man, and I appreciate you for having me on for sure.
Yeah, we're definitely excited to come. I've been trying to get to a game every year, so this year's the year that's gonna get to come to a game. So I'm gonna get here.
So yeah, all right, man. Well, I appreciate it.
And thank you guys for.